May be seated. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So thank you so much for the opportunity to share a little bit about an experience I've been having over the last 4 years in a country called Haiti. And when I say 4 years, this last July I actually made my 4th trip to Haiti since 2011. And 3 of the 4 trips with an organization called HealingHaiti.org, which is a faith-based organization out of Minneapolis. And that's just the first picture I've got on the screen is just our mode of transportation the entire week. We're in the country. We ride in the back of this truck called the Top Top. And so it's brightly painted. It's got wonderful Bible verses throughout it. And that's the way we get around while we're in the country. Now, where is Haiti itself? Let's see if I can... I may have to walk a little closer, Paul. All right, let's see if yeah, there we go, okay. So where's Haiti located? Well, it's considered the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. It's actually about a 1-hour flight from Disney World, the happiest place on earth. And it's the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. In fact, it's in the Caribbean, and it is found just east of Cuba on an island called Hispaniola, where 2/3 of the eastern part of the island is the Dominican Republic, which many of us have probably heard of. It's a great vacation place, it's resorts, and on the western third is Haiti, which is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. And where we spend our time is right around Port-au-Prince, which is the largest city in the country, and it's a city of about 3 million people. So roughly the size of Milwaukee. Now it's a city of 3 million people with no sanitary sewer system and no running water. So if you can imagine Milwaukee with no sewer or water system to speak of, that's Port-au-Prince. And many of you maybe you've heard of Port-au-Prince, particularly maybe in the last 5 years, because in January of 2010 they had a devastating earthquake that killed roughly 300,000 people. And it was a country that was already very poor and very much on the edge, and that really, one thing it did is it brought it into our world that most of us now have awareness about the country. Healing Haiti, the organization I work with there, had been working in Haiti since 2006, however. So they had good groundwork done already, and we really focus on 3 major things in Haiti with this organization. Number 1, fresh drinking water. Number 2, we have mission for elderly and for children. Mission for elderly is orphan care, if you will. The average life expectancy in Haiti is at 48 years old. And so if someone lives to be beyond that, they typically outlive their children. And I'm going to share with you some stories of 3 wonderful women I had a chance to spend some time with. We estimate their age to be anywhere from 80 to 104 in the 3 ladies that we work with. We say estimate because there are no birth certificates, so no one really knows ages. And yet we do know that most of their family has died, and so they're left with no one to care for them. And then the third thing we work on is we provide medical services to some of the orphanages and some of the other medical facilities in the country itself. So let's talk about that first. One of the things we do is when we come into the country as a mission team, and our team is anywhere from 12 to 15 people, we pack our suitcases with everything we could possibly carry in medical-wise. See, it's an island, so it's incredibly expensive to get anything there by shipping it, so we become the shippers. And so I took 3 suitcases, all up right at 50 pounds in weight, which is what the airlines will allow before they charge you a lot more, with medical supplies. And this trip I brought in, a lot of what I brought in was Pedialyte. Pedialyte, and I brought in the powder because it's lighter weight. Now, those of you who have ever bought Pedialyte, it's not an inexpensive product. And when I took it there for one of the orphanages we work with, it's called Mother Teresa's Home for the Sick and Dying Children. So it's a mission started by the Sisters of Mother Teresa's orphanage, and they care for children who are typically at the end of life or very ill, and the parents can't provide medical care for them. And a lot of what happens is dehydration. And so if you get a flu bug, you feel like you're getting dehydrated here, we can go to the pharmacy and get a packet of Pedialyte and get that. actually about $700 worth in. And we took it right to Mother Teresa's. And then some of the other supplies, the things we used to take for granted, Tums, Low-Dose aspirin, all types of things like that are just there to be helpful in caring for the people from a medical perspective. So we call it Suitcases for Life. And I've just got, my next picture is really showing what our mission team suitcases look like. We also bring in our old suitcases because we typically leave them there because they'll have a use for them. So as long as the suitcase can shut and get off the plane without breaking open, it's what goes with us typically when we go into the country. Here's our team. This is a really cool team. This is the third team I had a chance to work with. And most of our team this summer were high school seniors or college freshmen. And what a wonderful experience it was to, well, obviously I think I was the oldest person on the team. They did figure that out very first. And to see these young adults and how they grew through the experiences of the 7 days we spent together in Haiti itself. We were pretty spread out, even though Healing Haiti is based on Minneapolis. This team had a young lady who's a freshman in high school or in college at Carthage, lives in Kenosha, a school teacher from Tampa, Florida, and then the rest of the team was from Minneapolis, other than me. And so we all met when we got into Port-au-Prince at the airport. And each day, one of the traditions we do with the teams that I work with in there is that we choose a word of the day for each of us. So at the end of the day, we get together at our mission house after dinner and we just talk about a word that would be impactful, or was impactful for each of us each day. And our only rule is you can't use the same word twice, so no one can use your word again. So we come up with a pretty good list of words about our experiences. Here's our mission house. This is right in Port-au-Prince. It's actually, I didn't have a good picture, it's now been expanded. Healing Haiti has seen some tremendous growth, and they're able to bring in now 2 mission teams a week, and even help with more people gaining awareness about what's happening in Haiti. So my word for the day, the first day, and this was the day we flew in, was the word optimism. And that might have been an odd word, and I think for some of the team members who've never been to Haiti before, they probably thought it was a strange word to choose as your first day. But my experience from 2011 is that every time I've been there, things have gotten better. I see improvement. There's still a lot to do, and yet I was optimistic. The airport's been rebuilt the first time I flew in it was a tent, and then to go through passport control, you stood in another tent, and now it's actually a building. And anti-electricity was on the whole time I was at the airport this trip, which had never happened before. And then traveling through the streets to get to our mission house, which was about a 15-minute ride in our top, there was less, there was no tent cities anymore. Many of you maybe followed that after the earthquake. There were it's estimated about 100,000 people who were homeless because the buildings they had lived in had crumbled, and they were living in tents. And anytime there was a vacant lot, there would be this tent city. They're gone now. So they've helped people get back into housing, and they've helped them psychologically get back into housing because even if they had a house, many of them after the earthquake were afraid to go back in because the death toll was so high because of the buildings collapsing. And so they've been working with them from psychologically speaking to help people be comfortable with that idea. So it is improving. There's still a lot to do though. And so our first day truly there in the country, I chose the word laughter. Again, I think my mission team thought this was strange because they were seeing things that for many on the team had never seen before in their lives. And it was really the laughter of the children. The time that I got to spend with these wonderful kids. Anytime we pulled into anywhere, there were kids. And they were laughing and they were happy. And they had nothing. Third day I chose the word faith. And I'll share a little bit about that. My fourth day was vision. Day 5 I chose calm. Day 6 moved. And day 7 energy, which was our last in the country, which was a Sunday. So let's talk about day 1 and the optimism. Well, that was that things are improving. Now, here's the thing I think that's interesting is that if you look at a city of 3 million people with no city water and sewer system, well, we know what it takes to make an improvement to sewer or water systems even in a small town. Right, Dawn? Yes. Dawn Street got rebuilt this summer. So you look at that second, where would you even start with 3 million people? And yet there is improvement happening, and they are starting, and it is getting getting better. And so that's really what we're on. Day two was one of my favorite days in Haiti because one of our main missions is delivering fresh water. And Healing Haiti has 2 water trucks, actually 2 former milk trucks from Minnesota, both 2,500-gallon milk trucks, that we purchase fresh water. We take it into an area in Haiti called Cité Soleil. And Cité Soleil is a slum. It's a 3 by 3 square mile section of the city that has over 300,000 people living in it. The average home size is about 10 by 10 feet, so 100 square foot house. And they don't have fresh water, they don't have a sewer system there either. Now the challenge in Cité Soleil is because it's so densely populated, it's also very crime-ridden. And there are commercial water trucks that do commercial water delivery throughout Port-au-Prince, and they'll fill cisterns or tanks on houses, that type of thing. In Cité Soleil, the people don't have that. In fact, because of the crime in Cité Soleil and the violence, many of the commercial delivery trucks will not go there. It's just too dangerous. In 2007, we were able to work out an agreement with the gangs and the police that allow our water trucks to go in. And so we have 2 trucks that run the days that they're in service. They break down from time to time. That deliver 2,500 gallons of water. We'll do 4 to 6 water stops a day with each of those 2 trucks. And this is just a picture of the filling the truck. Now this water is treated from a well in Port-au-Prince. However, if we drink it, we would get sick. Because there's still bacteria in it that our bodies don't like, if you will. And yet that's where the fresh water comes from. Now the 2,500 gallon truck of fresh water costs $45 US to purchase. So to fill it up with 2,500 gallons is $45 US. And those trucks then run 5 days a week, actually 6 days a week they run. So Sundays we don't run the water trucks. And so in most of the neighborhoods in Cité Soleil, our water trucks will get there twice a week. So 2 times a week the folks in those areas have an opportunity to get fresh water. And there's our other water truck. The former one, I had an AMPI sticker on the side there. That's the first time I was there. I'm like, oh, okay, it feels like home. So then this is the water stop itself. And then here's what happens when the truck starts pulling into the neighborhoods. They honk the horn and people start pouring out from the houses, and those are the homes in Cité Soleil, and forming a line, carrying whatever they've got that will hold water. And they get in a line and we turn the spigot on, and until we run out of water, we're just filling whatever can hold water. And when we run out, we're out. And it happened, we did 2 days of water truck delivery, and both days, at least 1 or 2 of our stops, we ran out of water before everyone had gotten in. And that's just heartbreaking, because then what they'd have to do is figure out where else they're going to go to get water, which wouldn't be as close that this would be. So this is just, it's a big hose, and the kids get involved. You get covered in water because it's chaos. It actually felt good because it was about 104 degrees that day. It was July in Haiti. So that's just what it looks like when we're out there doing it. And it's just, I love this picture because it's really, when I talked to the Sunday school group this morning, I just asked them how many of you had water this morning and did you think much about it? And underneath the truck, it always drips a little bit of water, and every time I've been there, the kids will be there catching water and whatever will hold it, so they've got some water. And so, when we just turn on a faucet and expect that it's going to be there, and it's going to be fresh, and it's going to be clean, and it's going to be healthy, twice a week they get that opportunity at most. And then, this is amazing, those are 5-gallon buckets of water. How much would that weigh? How many of you have ever tried to carry a 5-gallon bucket? So this, I think this little girl is probably about 10 years old. That's how they take the water back to their homes on their heads. And so one of the things that we end up doing a lot of times is we're lifting up the buckets to get it on top of their heads for them, so they can walk away and take it back to their homes. And they're pretty amazing at how they can balance that as they go. The other thing the kids like to do, though, is they love to play. And apparently this trip, they thought I was a tree they could climb on. So you can see I've got all these kids, like saying they want me to lift them up. And so, and that's really where my word for this day was laughter, because, these children living in this slum, no shoes, a lot of them weren't even clothed. Having fun and laughing and just having a great time with us. And if we can do that as well, to me, what we're able to do there fulfills us much more than I think we can do for them. And that's